chakras. Chakras, not chakras. I am not correcting you, I am correcting me, because I first learned that it was pronounced chakra. Only recently have I started hearing people pronounce it chakra, and then I looked it up, and that is correct. And that is the topic for this week. Hi, my name is Kara, I'm your host for Tuesdays on the Pagan Perspective, and this week's topic is chakras. For this video, I'm going to assume that you either know something very basic about chakras or will take it upon yourself to check out the link that I'm going to put in the description in order to gain a basic understanding so I don't have to explain. Chakras are a Hindu concept. Do I know much about Hinduism? No. Do I know a little about chakras? Yes. Do I use them in my path? Yes. Why? I think it's because one of the first meditations I felt really did something for me was a guided chakra balancing meditation. I just said chakra. Whatever. Chakra. It kind of has that, like that weird sound quality in it where it could be between whatever. The goal of this meditation was to balance our chakras and bring attention to the ones that we had been neglecting while drawing back the ones that we had been letting run wild. It made sense to me and works for me personally, which is why I have chosen to incorporate it into my path. But something I'm always saying is, if it works, use it, which is actually something that I learned from theater but applies to the rest of life. I'm fully aware that not everyone buys into chakra work, and others, like Annie, enjoy learning about it but choose not to incorporate it into their personal path, and that's totally fine. Use what works for you in your path. So I might not know everything that there is to know about it, but I have a basic understanding and I use them in a certain way. So that first meditation that I did was basically just concentrating on each chakra individually, starting from the base up, and I was taught that you should always start with the base because it's best to have a strong foundation before you start building up. Everything that I've read since then says to start with the base, so it was the first thing I read and the first thing I learned, and it makes sense to me, and so that's what ends up sticking with me. But if you've learned it a different way or prefer it a different way, I guess you can. I mean, I'm not the authority, I don't know, but I start from the base and work up. I also believe in the power of crystals and stones, and like most things in the world, it seems each chakra has a color associated with it and also a stone or a variety of stones. There are certain stones recommended for working with and balancing each chakra, and I wear the common ones in a bracelet. This was made by my mother. She makes them and sells them on her Etsy, link in the description, and I've been wearing one for years, and that's why it's kind of stretched out. It's stayed together for me, which is really interesting because my mom's keep breaking, but mine has been fine. It's gone through the wash and everything. But basically, mine is red jasper for the root chakra, carnelian, citron, light green aventurine, sodalite, amethyst, and clear quartz. I chose clear quartz for the crown because clear quartz amplifies the effects of all of the other stones, so this is how I chose to have mine made, but my mom also makes them with whatever you feel works. Depends on what you like. But basically the idea is that wearing the bracelet, the stones help balancing your chakra. Sometimes I actually meditate with the bracelet now, and I use it like I would use prayer beads, and so while I'm balancing the root chakra, I hold it like this, and then I go to the next stone when I move to the next chakra. But more recently I've actually developed a new technique, and I forget where on the internet or who I heard it from or where I read it in the book or wherever I heard about a color meditation. And the color meditation did not mention chakras at all, but because there are colors associated with the chakras, I immediately associated it in my mind and kind of melded it together. In the link to the chakra website that I provided in the description, there is also a page on opening the chakras where I learned about the pronunciation time mudras, hand positions that we often see in Indian dance and religious ceremonies, and the typical, when people meditate, they do this mudras. I learned a new word. I looked up the pronunciation, so that one should be correct. Anyway, there are also hand positions that can be used to open chakras. So, when I was in a production of Hair in March, I know you guys hear me talk about it all the time, but being in that show really was a very spiritual experience for me. During that show, there was one scene that I was not in. The director wanted me to go and sit on the floor by the audience and meditate. Some of the other cast members were supposed to do the same thing around the set. Everyone else immediately went off and sat down and did this, cross-legged with their hands on their knees. So that made me think of all of the different hand positions and the color meditation. So I decided I wanted to really meditate during that scene, and I was going to combine the color meditation with using these mudras that I had learned about. When it was time for the scene to start, I sat down cross-legged stayed in my spot on the concrete floor and placed my hands in front of me on the ground. My hair was down, obviously it's hair, so my hair covered my face, which was good because it helps kind of with the look, and it also helped me to concentrate on what I actually wanted to do instead of the fact that the audience was staring at me like I'm a crazy person, like they normally do. Once I was grounded, I placed both of my hands over my solar plexus area, I'm doing it a little bit higher here so you can see it, to center. And then once I was done with that, I moved to the root chakra, the color red visualization, and the root chakra mudra, which is this position. Sat there with my hands on my knees and imagined the color red pouring down into the top of my head like a funnel from the lights, or the light that comes from the universe far beyond the theater. And as I pictured this vivid red energy flowing through me, I also tried to think of some of the things that the root chakra represent. As I was sitting there, I was thinking things like grounding, balance, stability, structure, and I just tried to keep those images in my head. Once I was done with that visualization, I moved on to the color orange and the sacral chakra and that position. And if you look down in the link, it shows all of the hand positions, so I don't have to go through all of them. So for the sacral chakra, it was orange, sexuality, expression, vitality, big concepts of hair and things that I have always struggled to be in tune with and I want to get better with. So I did that through all of the chakras, through all of the mudras and hand positions, and through all of the colors of the rainbow. And then at the end, I put my hands on the floor in front of me again and grounded before I got up to move to my next spot on stage, because it would not have been good for me to do the next song floating about in the ether, as it were. Now, because I was meditating during a scene, I really had to work out the timing, so through the rehearsal process, I figured out how long I could spend on each chakra, and I started coming up with cues. I would be concentrating on the color and the position and everything like that, but I would also be listening for the lines in the scene that was happening in front of me. So I kind of had this dual concentration going on, and then if I heard a specific line, that would tell me, oh, I should be on the throat chakra now, I'm not going to have enough time to finish this, and I actually wanted to get through the whole thing. Fortunately, you should not always be in a position where you're going to be pressed for time like that, so you should be able to spend as much time as you want on each chakra and really develop it further. And I haven't actually sat down and done this since the show, since March. Isn't that terrible? It's June. So the last thing that I want you to check out in the link below, it's all on the same website, but you'll see, when you get there, there are several links. There's one for a chakra test. Bearing in mind that, of course, this is not a totally definitive test, I truly feel that the results end up being right for me, and that's why I use it. If you think it's a bunch of bullcrap, please don't use it, because obviously if you don't think something is going to work, it's probably not going to. It's a series of questions that you answer about yourself, so the results are really dependent on you being 100% honest with yourself. Something that I always thought was really cool about myself is that I tend to be very honest with myself, and I don't always want to admit that I'm bossy and controlling and talk too much and things like that, but they're true. So even the negative things, I have to step back and say, well, no, I don't necessarily like that about myself and I want to maybe work on it, but it is true. I don't deny that it is true. There are questions like that on there. There might be some things that you don't want to admit are true about yourself, but you're going to have to, or these results are just not going to work. Because they're all questions that have to do with things that each of the chakras sort of represent, like sexuality, or how you view yourself as part of a group, or how you communicate with others. If you're really honest about the way you are with those things, the results of the test should show you which of your chakras are open, which of them are underactive, and which are overactive. And like I said, I use this test because it fits what I actually believe to be true about myself. So I'll show you in 1 second. So if you really don't think it fits you, don't even worry about listening to it. Obviously, it's not definitive. I first took the test in January 2009. You see the results here. I took it again in June of 2009, and again just now, almost exactly 2 years later. I also composited little bits of showing the progression from the first test to the second, and then from the second to the one that I just took, so I could sort of keep track of what had changed in between. Again, the percentages aren't necessarily exact, but knowing what I know about myself and being honest with my tendencies, I really agree with my results. The overactive throat chakra, for example, means that I talk too much, and I might need to shut up and listen a little bit more, and I know that's true about me. I also know that my root chakra has never been my best friend, and I would really like to work on that. I also find it funny that the percentage of my crown chakra has gone down since 2 years ago, because just recently my mom did a chakra balancing on me with her pendulum, and she closed my crown chakra because it was too open. There's actually a video of that. You can watch it here. It's on my mom's channel. Are the exact percentages something you should pay attention to? Probably not. But that's not the point for me so much as honestly evaluating how I perceive myself and judging my progress, which the pretty colored graphs just help to do. Hopefully those of you who meditate regularly and maybe feel confident in picking up suggestions will be able to try this out just based on my brief explanation and the links below. So that is how I use chakras in my path. Chakra, not chakra. They're so close. I will see you all next week. Thank you very much for watching, and blessed be. Because I wanted to talk about all this other stuff, because I talk too much, because my throat chakra's overactive.